Hello boys and girls, and welcome to page 35 from lesson 1-6. As I mentioned in class, I wanted to do these questions with you, but we simply ran out of time because we had that activity outdoors. Now what I'd like to do is get it done now, but I won't do them all. I'm simply going to help you with a couple of them, put the key answers in, and that'll be all. Okay, let's get started with question 33. Aaron is hiking a state park. He averages 3 miles per hour. That's our unit rate right there. Every hour is 3 miles. Make a table of ordered pairs in which the x-coordinate, so the domain, represents the number of hours, and the y-coordinate, our range, represents the number of miles hiked in 1, 2, 4, and 6 hours. So we have our unit rate, right, which is 3 miles, but then we have it goes up by every 2 hours, okay? So I'm going to make the table for you, and what I'd like you to do is to graph the order of pairs. So make sure when you do it in your notebooks, you can copy my table, but then I'd like you to graph it. So we have our domain, and we were asked to do 1, 2, 4, 6. There's 1, 2, 4, 6. And we know that the unit for 1 hour is 3 miles, so 1 hour, 3 miles. This is my range. So then my order pair are 1, 3. 2 hours will double because every hour is 3, so 2 hours, 6. And for every hour after that, I have to continue to add 3, right? So 3 hours would be 9, and 4 hours is 12. Okay? 5 hours would be 15, and 6 hours is 18. So we're simply adding 3 miles to every hour. There are the order pairs. Okay, now please copy this down and make sure that you draw your own graph. For the graph, make sure to include a title. We always have to include a title. For the y-axis, make sure you write distance and the unit in parentheses, mile. For the x-axis, this is where we have our domain, which is the time, and make sure to write the unit in parentheses, which is hour. Now, I went ahead and we drew 1 to 10. I know that it only goes up to 6, but I wanted to space it out so that you can see when you graph it, you have a proportional relation, as well as the range. You can see that the numbers are evenly spaced out from 2, but counting up by 2s. Okay, so make sure you draw something like this, and then you plot it, please. Question 34. In this problem, you will explore more about relations. Suppose Jamal has only 30 minutes to practice the piano and study for a science test. So for 30 minutes to do both of these, and we don't know how much time he's going to spend on each one. So here we're being asked to make a table. Make a table of ordered pairs showing at least 6 ways Jamal can split the time between the two activities. Let the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate represent the number of minutes. So x, the domain will be the time, number of minutes spent playing the piano, and the number of minutes spent studying, respectively. So for this one, it's interesting because we have time, both minutes, for the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate, which means both quantities this time will be time. Let's make the table. Okay, so you can see my table is not the greatest, but this is the best I could do on the iPad. I have piano time and study time, and I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns because there's 6 different combinations. Now I have to find all the possible combinations, okay, at least 6 combinations, not all of them, the 6 combinations of how the time can be split. So I can start by saying that he will spend maybe 5 minutes on the piano, okay, 5 minutes on the piano, which would leave me with 25 minutes to study for science. Right? Sorry, it doesn't say science, it just says spent studying. Okay. Continuing, if I continued on this route, I can say that I spent 10 minutes on piano, which leaves me 20 minutes for studying, and so on. Remember that he only has 30 minutes to study, so I can continue with 15 and 15, and so on. No, I just went ahead and did it like this. Now I know that this one over here it's still following the pattern because it's proportional, but this one's kind of not meeting the expectation because the expectation is he has to study for both, and he only has 30 minutes to study for both. So this one leaves only piano and no studying, but it follows a proportion. It would follow it this way too. I could put 30 and 0 if I were to make one on this end because I'm breaking it up by 5s. Now remember, you could also do 1 and 29, 2 and 28, 3 and 27, and so on, right? Okay, for a little key answer today, let's draw Iyad right here catching a football. Okay, that's Iyad. Unfortunately, he's too distracted by catching the football to realize that he's about to run into a large rock. Make sure that when you draw your graph to always include the title. So I included time management here. You have your y-axis and your x-axis. One is study time and the other one is piano time. Okay, and you are comparing them by the increments that we use: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on. Okay, go ahead and make your graph just like this, and you plot your points where you think they go. For question 35, we're looking at two other quantities. Okay, and they don't. Well, I'll explain in a minute. 6 students in Mr. Maloney's class made a table of ordered pairs for their height in inches, which is the domain, height is x, and their shoe size, which is the range, y. Okay, so if a student was 58 inches tall, their shoe size was size 6, and so on. Okay? Graph the order pairs. Now when you draw your graph, I want you to include the title, Mr. Maloney's class. Shoe size is the y, as we said it here, and height is your domain, which is your x-axis. Okay, now I want you to notice that over here we started, because the lowest one is 5.5, we started at 5. So from data from 0 to 5, we crushed it a little bit, and we drew this little guy over here to show that the data here has been crushed a little bit, because we don't have any data from 1 to 5. Okay, so we start counting at 5. So make sure you include this. You can ignore question B. Compare the graph to example 4. Don't worry about that. Let's continue on to question 36. Multiple representations. The numbers 4, 7, 10, 13 form an arithmetic sequence because each term can be found by adding the same number to the previous term. Okay, so we have term number, the first number, second number, third number, and fourth number. The first number is 4, the second number is 7, the third number is 10, and the fourth number is 13. If you were to graph this, the term numbers will be your domain, and your term is your range. So this would be your x-axis, and this would be your y. So now we just simply have to make these into order pairs. So you want to take this data here and put them in parentheses on the side and make an order pair. Okay, you can do it in your book. So the first one would be 1, 4, 2, 7, and so on. Okay, so that would be 8. Graph the order pair. Okay, so now we want to graph these. Okay? When you draw your graph, it should look something like this. Always start with the title, arithmetic sequence. As I mentioned, the term number will be your domain, and your term will be your range. Okay? Here are your order pairs, so go ahead and graph it. For C, you're being asked to describe the shape. Well, when you describe a shape, are they asking you, is it going to be a straight line? Okay, is it a linear relationship? Is it non-linear? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it increasing? Is it a sharp slope? What is it? You tell me. You can pick any of those. And for D, if possible, write a rule to find the 20th term. Explain how you found the rule or why you cannot write the rule. Well, you can definitely find a rule because it looks like it's consistent, right? I would say my rule would be 3, okay, 3 times the value of x plus 1, right, equals y. Let's check if that's true. If I multiply every x by 3, okay, I multiply 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. You see that? So 3 times x plus 1 will always give me y. Make sure to write this equation down, as it will be a key answer. I think the hot questions will make a good warm-up when we get to class. We can do them together. Actually, you will take a crack at it first, and then we'll check them together. So don't worry about the hot questions. Let's do them in class. See you in class.